Good morning. Welcome to the CoreNet Global Mid-Atlantic Chapter's edition of the CoreNet Café. I'm Erin Michael. I'm Vice President of the chapter this year, and I work with Capital One. I am very thankful that Haworth and Price Modern are participating in this week's edition of the CoreNet Café. And before we get started, I want to introduce our special guest. Teresa Terry has been an award-winning global accounts manager for Haworth for 2 years. She has a degree in interior design and brings 24 years of experience and knowledge and has managed over $25 million of business globally. In her 2 years at Haworth, Teresa has drastically expanded the market share within key accounts. As a leader and a coach, Teresa is passionate about helping others. She's a mentor to many, and this year, Teresa was honored to receive the Dick Haworth Values Award. So thank you, Teresa, for joining the CoreNet Café today. I look forward to spending some time with you. And to the audience that's listening, we're hopeful that we'll have a few minutes at the end of the segment, which is only 30 minutes, to have a little bit of a Q&A with Teresa.
Well, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. And good morning to everybody out there. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday indeed. So Teresa, Haworth has obviously always been doing a lot of work in the innovation space. And as we look at the post-COVID workplace, I'm curious to hear, and I know the audience is interested to understand, what's Haworth doing in terms of any new products or the innovation that they're thinking through as we all begin to repopulate buildings?
Well, I think you're right. Everyone is thinking about where the post-COVID return to work, what that actually looks like. And for an organization like Haworth, we have been on the cutting edge of that, or the front edge of that. So before we actually have to go back to work, we've been working to see what that looks like. And, you know, in the furniture industry, we talk about furniture as a commodity, but what it actually is in the workspace is where your actual employees engage with the building. That is where they sit at their desk, they meet. Those places are integral to actually going back to work and how you feel comfortable doing so. So what we've been doing, I think of it in 3 buckets. There is our commitment to our existing portfolio of work and portfolio of installations globally. There are what you're going to do to modify those existing installations, and then what we've done, what we're innovating on the future, what the future looks like. And so I'm happy and very excited to know that the promise we made to people sometimes 20 years ago about the flexibility of the product well into the future has held up. So we're looking at things like stacking to make workstations higher and giving our clients advice and working on it together, because we're not really a prescriptive company. We're more about sharing knowledge about things they can do to enhance their current existing workstation if they have panels, where a lot of people have gone away from panels. And then where our existing world has gone into the more benching-based application, we've always had screens for those benches, but now we have to innovate to bring those screens up to the requirements of what actual division means, not just space division. And that is in the materiality of them. That means in the height of them. That means in the function of them. So that is somewhere where we are actually truly innovating and coming up quickly with new ways. And we have an interim solution for people, and we have a long-term solution for people. And we're doing this as quickly as it can be. The amount that goes into bringing a new product to market is huge, but we've condensed that, like everyone else is condensing their timeline, to make sure that we can get people back, even if it's something that's recyclable on the short end, while they truly decide what their long-term solution is going to be as an organization. And then we're also engaging with our clients who haven't yet built out a space to discuss what that looks like. Does a conference room still hold 10 people, for example? What are they doing with their workstations differently than if they were in a true benching application before? Are they still thinking that down the line, or are they thinking to go back to something, a hybrid of a bench, where you have the panel that can give you height and separation, and then you still have the flexibility and the user control of the bench? So there are a lot of things going on that we are working on all simultaneously. You know, for Michigan being on a work from home, you'd be amazed how many hours our people are putting in from home to make sure we have these things ready for our clients. and that we're actually approaching them as opposed to waiting for them to approach us, so that we can really, truly help guide them through the actual months and years ahead.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. It's a lot to think about as an end user, Teresa. So Haworth's experience in this realm and the proactivity in helping create solutions is really important. So thank you for elaborating on that.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious, as we're all settling into the new norm of working from home, how have you stayed connected to your team, to your clients? It's not as easy as visiting them in their, buildings or having them come to a Haworth showroom. So how have you adjusted, and how's that impacted the business community?
Oh, there are a lot of ways to go about doing that. I think from the business perspective, we've all adjusted to doing things virtually. By the nature of what I do, I'm used to working from home, but others are not. And how do we bridge that gap of communication so that everyone feels connected enough to get their work done, and then connected enough to feel easygoing enough to have the casual conversations that you don't even realize you have when you're face to face with somebody and you're greeting them. And so I personally have reached out to my clients, and not necessarily, I do the corporate part and my job part about bringing knowledge to them, but I also truly start my conversations with my clients about how are they and their family doing. And I think it kind of breaks that ice and gets the more the friction gone, and the more casual piece and the more comfortable piece going. And as far as staying connected to the world, I am a separation of church and state person. My family life and my personal life is over here on Facebook, and LinkedIn is over here on LinkedIn. That's my professional, and I never mixed the two. Well, now I have. So I had this. I just casually one day I call it my work from home tips, because I do work from home and so many people don't, was being aware of where your animals are at when you get on a conference call, because inevitably the second you open your mouth, your dog has something to say as well. So I started that way, and I had a picture of my dog, and I got so many responses. You post all these brilliant things you think you know about whatever in the world, or in the world of work. I post one picture of my dog, and I had 600 views. So that is how I've chosen to stay connected, by kind of a hybrid of the two. So I'll put a picture of my animals out, or one of my animals out, and then I will attach some kind of knowledge to it. And it's actually worked very nicely for me. And I've gotten, hits from people I haven't seen in years, and saying, "Hi, Teresa, how are you doing?" And the knowledge is there as well. So it's a combination of the two, because we're working from home. I'm kind of living on my online presence on LinkedIn, combining the two as well. And that's worked really well for me. And then Haworth has really good content that we've been posting weekly, and we've had guest speakers, because it doesn't have to be about furniture. It really has to be. That's not our real connection. Our real connection is our service to the country. We're really a service. My job is a service to the industry and to my clients. And so how do I connect with useful information? And we've been bringing weekly webinar series to them as well. That has gone incredibly well. One of them broke the internet. We had so many people respond and want to participate that it shut the site down, which was, it was panicky at the surface, but then you're like, oh, that's awesome. That many people wanted to hear what this person had to say, and to be able to bring that to the world virtually was really very fulfilling.
Yeah, it's true. And I know, Teresa, when we were catching up earlier, I shared with you that my team has actually participated in some of those Haworth webinars, and they're incredibly valuable. So if you're not, to the audience, if you're not on the mailing list, please reach out to Teresa after this to get included, because they're great wealth of information, especially as we're all searching for virtual ways to connect and to learn best practices.
Absolutely.
So, Teresa, I want to pivot a little bit. You have 9 nieces, and in the workforce, you're known as a woman, a woman advocate and a female industry leader. So, tell us a little bit more about your experience in mentoring, and what might you tell others in this volatile time about industry changes and how they're looking to grow? There's a lot here, so feel free to kind of pick apart my question, but your advocacy for folks is really important.
I do, and I think it's an honor. I think it's an honor to be able to mentor and coach. I think it's not even about the responsibility of it to help people who are, making their way through as you had to. I think it's just the appreciation to be able to give back, and what you learn just as much as you give, quite frankly, as far as I'm concerned. That's my experience. And having 9 nieces and all their own personalities, but there's a family trait that runs through us is having strong personalities, regardless of how that strong personality comes out. It's been gratifying and a lot of fun to speak to everyone where their career is and where they're at in their career and give my experiences and try to help them understand that it's not a straight line or it's not a curve that goes constantly up. It's actually a series of ups and downs through your career before you find where you're really comfortable at. And I would like them, most of all, I always would like to try to impose upon them, one of the most important things is that there's nothing you can do in your 20s that you can't recover from. So take risks. I think that I was born and raised in the 80s. It was all, the biggest thing was my father said you had 2 years of college, and that was it. Past that, it was on you. And these kids today, their lives are so planned out, and this is supposed to happen, and this is supposed to happen, and the world just doesn't work like that. So taking risks and understanding that if you would like to try something over here, it may not work, but that's okay. That's completely okay. You'd be amazed at what you find by accident in this world. I didn't graduate from college thinking I was going to be in the furniture industry for 24 years. Not even close. Wasn't even on my mind. Didn't even know it existed, truthfully. So the world is out there. And for girls and men and women, I think that another key thing I would like people to understand and try to impose upon women that I speak to is to control your brand and to be cognizant of your brand and don't let anyone else write it for you. It's your brand. You know who you are. You know how to be authentic to yourself and to make sure that you do that. And that is actually right, wrong, or indifferent. And sometimes it worked out well, sometimes it didn't. But that's exactly what's gotten me to where I would like to be in the workplace as far as that goes. So, yeah. And I actually also mentor a young lady in high school. So I have the privilege of being with her from sophomore to senior year. And that is a lot of fun to see her grow and talk to her. And it doesn't have to be about work. It doesn't have to be about school. Just talking to her and letting her experience somebody else's life that's not the same as hers is awesome. It's awesome. She's awesome. I love her.
Starting at the beginning is really important. And I think the younger generations can use, especially now, they're not in school, they're not hanging out with their friends. This is a really important time if you're not a mentor to reach out to become one, because I think now more than ever, those points of connections are really important.
I have absolutely right.
Yeah. I have a 6-year-old who's stuck at home, very bored day to day. So I can't imagine, as high school students are entering college and thinking about what's next for them in their career, how important it is to have someone like yourself as a soundboard in that time.
Thank you.
So Teresa, we do have one question that I thought, while we're going to pivot away a little bit from your kind of personal career, a great question came in from an audience participant. Do you anticipate material changes to furniture systems in anticipation for more robust cleaning requirements? This is kind of going into that first question.
Absolutely. And so not just the size, the shape, and the height of screens or panels or fabric, it's the materiality. So we have always had products that were cleanable, but now what are the new criteria about that cleanable? Is it bleach cleanable? How is it antimicrobial? What are the new materials that are out there that are going to ensure that germs or viruses or whatever it is does not live on the product, and then it can be cleaned with a substance that guarantees the 99.9% elimination of germs and bacteria? That is absolutely the case. So not just can we build another fabric screen, but what is that fabric going to be and how cleanable is it? Those criteria are absolutely there. Same thing with your chair. Your body is sitting in a chair, and if you're going into a conference room, there's one thing if you're sitting in your own chair, but if you're going into a conference room or another place in the building to work, as if you're promoting that you should work everywhere within your building, what are the cleanability requirements of those fabrics as well, and how long can germs live on them? And then, it not always going to be the actual products alone. It's what are the protocols that your building is putting into place, which I'm sure you're having discussions about every day, Karen. What are the protocols and what are the new habits that we are all living through to make sure that we're taking our responsibility of cleaning up after ourselves? And what does that look like? You're absolutely right. Plexiglass, glass, all of it is out there.
Yep. Yeah, kind of related to the cleaning question, I know personally that as folks were exiting buildings to start working from home as soon as kind of COVID hit our market specifically, there was an influx of working professionals that took office chairs home to their home office. And there's a lot of questions right now around, do you allow the re-entry of those chairs, not being able to control how they've been cleaned over the last several weeks? So recognizing that furniture lead times can be rather significant for contract commercial office furniture, I recognize that Haworth has been more proactive in addressing clients on their needs, but curious to hear a little bit from you on how we should be thinking about the return not only of people, but the return of office furniture.
I think the return of office furniture really has to be part of your policy, because like you said, we have no control. You have no control about where those products have been. Can you clean the fabrics? Absolutely. But making sure, and again, the care and maintenance is attached to every product that we sell. The care and maintenance, how cleanable is it? Is it up to the standards that have been set forth by the CDC? And we publish those pieces of information along with whatever we tell our clients, so that it's cleanable enough to come back into an organization. There's also a lot of organizations or a lot of companies that will come in and clean your furniture and clean your space and clean everything around you, but that's what's already under your control. I don't know that I can be prescriptive about what you do about letting things back into your space. I do know that I've been tapped from every part of this country, and then also in the Middle East from my family about I now need a chair to work from home in, because I never believed you, Aunt Teresa, Sister Teresa, Daughter Teresa, that chair I was sitting in was not going to work forever. So I know people are bringing a lot of chairs into their homes, and those also have the same considerations. And as far as the lead time goes on things, Haworth, and I'm sure other people as well, looking in the short term and the long term. So what can we do in the short term with products that are available and readily available now that will get us through the gap until we come up with that long-term solution of what that looks like. So there's that innovation in the materiality. So the materials that were on your chair, if you took your 5-year-old chair home, it may not be the same chair that you plan to follow up with in the future that has a bleach cleanable fabric on it. To take those into considerations also. But you can't throw away everything that you've purchased. You've made an investment here. So it's kind of a balancing act. And also I would say that as far as cleanability goes, there's also the innovation of how much do we touch. So I saw a picture the other day of we're really pushing, and for the right reasons, height adjustable tables, height adjustable dust solutions for people. But now, do you want to be touching the paddles? So what other way is there to adjust the height of your table that doesn't require you to physically put your hands that then go into your face on the actual paddle? Can you use your foot to do it? So things like that, there's all kinds of things that are being thought out that you would not think, your everyday person wouldn't think was a big deal, but it's crucially important as we look at how we're going back into the workforce.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think that there's a lot of materials that have started to, I think more so been highlighted over the last several weeks that have been more muted in terms of design. Bronze and copper come to mind. The chemical makeup of those two metals does not make the virus last as long as a typical work surface. So I'm curious, have you guys been talking about and exploring different metals and the materiality there and how that could make up furniture, even temporary solutions?
We have talked about it. I can't say that we're at the end of that journey, but I know everything is on the table. There is nothing that we haven't explored, especially when we have, because we're a global organization, we have the benefit of having what's gone on, let's say, from Asia moving this way because they've experienced it already. So how are they integrating back in, and what have they found that works that can help inform what we do here in the United States, or what we do in Europe, or what we do, in South America? We've had the benefit of that knowledge being shared. And I can't say it again. Those are big brains, and I'm not one of them. I'm just down here in the field talking to you, Aaron. But I do know that we are working fast and furiously to understand, test, and bring to market, because we're a very conservative company, and rightfully so. We don't bring products to market that we don't believe can last and can to stand up to what's going to be needed in the workforce as well for the things we do know. So it's a combination, it's a balancing act of the two. Yeah. And I think what's interesting is the plexiglass right now. There's going to be a shortage of plexiglass because it's a quick solution that people have come up with. But will that be the solution that gets us to, or will it be going to the, like you said, the metals that can be integrated into a product?
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of retrofitting conversations happening, I think, in many of our organizations today, including my own. Well, Teresa, I don't see any more questions come through, so I just want to remind the audience that we've got a couple more minutes left. So if you have any questions, throw them in the chat function. And Teresa, I guess I have one more fun, lighthearted question for you, and that one is, when we're finally away from travel restrictions, what is your favorite vacation destination? And I know that this is at top of all of our minds as we're stuck at home today.
Oh, that's easy. I am in love with Thailand. It is a gorgeous country. They are gorgeous people. There is a lot to do there, regardless of what it is your pleasure is for vacationing. And I cannot wait to go back. It's whether you go to the south or you go to the north, the history, the museums, the temples, the beaches, the food is incredible. So my husband and I, we've been 3 times. We went to our first time in 2008, and we just adored it. And I would go back anytime, and I would recommend anyone to go back. And the funny thing is in Thailand, what you actually get as well, their exposure to other cultures. So people on that side of the world go to Thailand to vacation. So in one event, I was on a bus with someone from Israel, someone from the Middle East, someone from Russia, someone from England. So you go there and you get the melting pot of the world in Thailand, which is also incredibly interesting and incredibly fulfilling. Absolutely, I would recommend it every time.
Awesome. Yeah, sir, you're a good saleswoman, because that sounds like the right spot for me right now. Well, thank you again. It was a pleasure to have you on our on an episode of the CoreNet Café here on our new virtual series, connecting with our members and hopefully potential members. And it's been great to get to know you personally. So appreciate the time. And thank you for being a sponsor and a valued partner to the chapter. Both you and Price Modern are incredible partners, and we're really grateful for you.
I appreciate it. Thank you again, and thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Talk to you later. Thank you for joining, everyone.
Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.